Hello, everybody. Welcome today. Today on my show, I have a special guest, Zac Purchase Hill. Well, ladies and gentlemen, who doesn't know, Zac is the Olympic champion, is national record holder. He's got as well Olympic silver medal, and that's just the most important things among of all the other championships, medals, and achievements in the world of sports. And the world of sports is just a part of his career. But let's start with his life in the world of sports and the journey he went through and his success there. Zac, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi. Did you always know that you want to be a professional athlete?
No, actually, no. That's it's something that sort of crept up on me. When I left school, I'd done a few international competitions and I'd been rowing for a number of years. And I had a gap year, a year between finishing school and going to university. I spent that year training and competing, and it was a successful year. I won the under-23 World Championships and decided to have another gap year. And in that gap year, I won the World Championships, the Senior World Championships. And so I had another gap year. And I'm currently on my 16th gap year. So it's just one of those things that happened to me after school. And I continue doing it because I just love that feeling of winning and being successful.
So did you always know that it's going to be rowing, nothing else?
Well, I'll let you into a little secret. I am absolutely useless at every single other sport. I just seem to have found one that I was quite good at, and if you're quite good at it and quite enjoy it, I can have some success. Then you stick with it. I can't catch, I can't hit, kick or throw, so anything involving a ball is completely out of the question for me. So getting into a sport where I can sit down for most of my day was absolutely ideal.
Well, and that's you see, very powerful message. Just find what you're good at and do it, and you get to the top because you are perfect example of it. Well, Olympic gold is something that I believe every single athlete wants, and you've got it. Fantastic. So tell me, was it the goal that inspired you to be professional, or you just wanted to, race with yourself?
Yeah, so a bit of both, I'll be honest. I'm a really competitive person. I like to win. And so I always just looked for the next thing to win. So when I was at school, it was winning at school and trying to beat all the people I was at school with. And then as I got a bit more involved in the world of rowing, I was trying to beat people from the county where I lived and then the rest of the country. And when that wasn't enough, when I was winning at that level, I was then looking internationally, looking at trying to beat people from other countries. And then, fast forward a few years and you find yourself on the start line at the Olympic final in Beijing, and you're there trying to beat those people. So as a common theme running through, just trying to always be the best. And that just culminated in being up there on the Olympic finish line.
And you did it. You got the Olympic gold. And when you were standing there on the podium with a gold medal hanging around your neck, tell me, how did it feel?
Oh, it was such an emotional moment. You hear about these stories of athletes being successful and winning, and you don't know how you're going to feel, how you're going to emotionally react. And I stood there in floods of tears. I'm not ashamed to admit that at all. It was an amazing experience, listening to the national anthem being sung. And I don't know how they managed it over in Beijing, but they managed to get so many people singing God Save the Queen, as it was in those days. They just lifted the hairs on the back of our neck, and watching the flag up the middle flagpole was just a really special moment.
So, if you think about this right now, is it the same feeling that it was back then?
Yeah, it is. It is the same feeling. I've got an immense amount of pride about what we achieved, coming from third place the year before, a bronze medal at the World Championships, up to not being undefeated through the 2008 season. We won every single race that we entered. The heats, the semi-finals, the finals, everything we entered that year, we won. And we were voted the World Rowing Crew of the Year, which is amazing for us to achieve that from pretty much nowhere the year before. So huge amounts of pride of that year, culminating, as you say, in that wonderful race that we finished with.
Fantastic. Well, and tell me, because it is great experience from what I hear from you and other athletes I talk to. Did it change anything in you? Are you different person from the moment when you won the Olympic gold?
That's a really difficult question. I'd like to say no. I'd like to say that I always will be who I am. But actually, on reflection, I think it's shown me what is possible and how amazing it is to feel such feelings of intense satisfaction. Ultimately, we're there to do a job, and that was the culmination of all those years of hard work. Unless you have that real life lived experience, I think it's very difficult to feel that. So to be able to go out and know that if in the future I achieve some personal goal that is similar, then I'll feel the same way. And it's nice to know that actually the hard work is worth it.
Definitely it is. But well, I know people, well, from my personal practice, I had it myself that are working really hard, really try, really do everything they can to get those goals, and they don't succeed. For some reason, there is something, some break that stops them from achieving what they want to achieve, despite the skills, knowledge, abilities, and will to do it. Tell me, did you have a moment of, well, like a disappointment during your sports career?
I don't think you can have a sports career without endless amounts of disappointment. And that's one of the things that really, I think, separates success from the potential to have success, is coping with that disappointment, coping with that failure.
Mm-hmm.
In the period from 2009, post Beijing, up to 2012, the London Olympics, Mark and I, the guy I rode with, and I, were faced with constant disappointment, either injury or illness, or just underperformance was absolutely rife. I think we raced 13 times in 2008. And I think we raced 13 times between 2009 and 2012. So there are loads of reasons why we weren't able to get out there and race. And our results were comparatively dismal. We were fourth or fifth, maybe sixth in the world on a number of occasions. And yes, we pulled it out of the bag. We performed our very best at the World Championships, and we nearly got there at the Olympic Games. But the build up towards all of that was really difficult, and we were constantly battling with trying to be as successful as we were and not quite achieving it, not quite getting the right results, not producing the speed which we knew we were capable of, but it just didn't quite come for one reason or another.
And well, in the moments like that, tell me, because I believe it's more at this stage mental game than physical effort. Who supported you back then in these difficult times?
Well, it goes without saying that my family were really supportive, making sure that I was cared for at home, and all the nutrition stuff was going on. I could really focus on doing my job, as well as my wife. There's also a huge team of people, the psychologists and coaches that work with us on a daily basis to make sure that the sort of the work side of things is going on. But for me, it's important to have that balance, that ability to get home, switch off, and completely forget about the fact that this is your job, even though you're still constantly monitoring calorific intake, balance of micro and macronutrients, how much sleep you're getting, any exercise you're doing outside of that structured environment, like taking the dog for a walk, that sort of thing. For me, it's really important to separate those two as much as possible, so you can concentrate on being totally at home and relaxed, so that when you get back into that sporting environment, you can hit the ground running and really commit to it. And that's one of the things I think that was quite difficult to manage post Beijing. And suddenly there's that media attention, that demand for people to do interviews or discuss various things or endorse products, and it's quite easy to get that mixed up. So if I was offering any advice to athletes coming through in the future, it's give yourself that downtime, give yourself that contrast, maybe find a hobby that's acceptable. Obviously, downhill skiing, maybe not so good for rowers, you might break something, but find a hobby that you can lose yourself in. It's outside that sporting world to give you that mental focus when you're back in the boat again.
Oh, thank you very much. That's important what you just said, explained, and well, I like the fact that you said straight away, my family was there, my wife was there for me. That's fantastic. That's very important, and surprisingly not very common.
I think it's more common than people would like, than people realize. But I just don't think people say it enough. I think everyone focuses on the team, around the team, and that insular world of sport, forgetting completely that actually there's a huge amount of pressure and a huge amount of expectation put onto the families of the sports people. And it's really nice to acknowledge them and actually to be honest and say, actually, look, without that support, I wouldn't have achieved anything.
Well, that's very strong statement. And well, in this case, tell me, because well, I'm generally ambassador of the mental health awareness. What would you say, based on your experience, both as an athlete, professional athlete, and well, as a human being, do you think that it is important to have some support, professional support in terms of mental health when the time gets tough?
Yeah, there is no opportunity to perform physically without having that mental strength and mental capacity to do it. And one of the things that sport in the UK does really well is support athletes when they're in the system, when they are working with people to look for that ultimate performance, whether it be a World Championships or a Commonwealth Games or Olympic Games. One of the things which I think we're working hard to improve, which is a music to my ears, is that period of transition from being an athlete, bringing people into the real world. And that's a really difficult time because often people are retiring more often than not for reasons that are outside their control. Either they've become injured, they've got too old, they haven't had the success, maybe they're not quite as successful as they want to be, and they're coming out of sport in a negative space. And that's a really difficult period because you then lose that sporting identity and you want to try and give something back to the world. You want to actually have some contribution. And suddenly you're outside the sports system and it's a complete open field. You've got no idea where you want to go. That area is, I think, one which is so crucial to athletes' long-term health, long-term mental health and physical health. And one of the things that, whilst there is efforts and lots of companies out there who can help, I think athletes just need a little bit more guidance, a little bit more support in that area so they can come down from that sporting high, as it were, into the real world in a really safe and beneficial long-term way.
Yeah, well, I know what you're talking about, as I did the research once with students athletes.
Yeah.
And for them, well, that was the group, majority of them, it was a group that they knew they won't be able to, well, work as a professional athlete after they finish university, because it was just this little bit, well, between getting there and staying behind, and it was difficult for them to go from studying and training all the time straight to like a 9 to 7 job, 9 to 5 job, and live completely different life. They didn't know what to do and how to find themselves within the, well, normal world, we can say. After having sports career, I believe it must be even harder for professional athletes who actually succeeded like yourself. But as far as I know, because we spoke already, your transition into retiring was actually quite smooth, wasn't it?
It was smooth, and I think that comes back to, as I was saying before, about having that support network away from sport. Um, my wife and my family were consistent through that period, and have sort of stuck with me through today, which I'm surprised about. I'll be honest with you. So it's nice to have that support network, and I've had a number of careers since I left the world of sport. I've been a personal trainer. I've owned a gym. I've done some futures trading, and I'm now in the sphere of wealth management, helping people with their personal finances. So it's important to sort of find what you want to do, and for me, it's helping other people. So I've had so many people helping me over the years. Actually, it's really nice to kind of give that love and passion of supporting people back. And whether it's been through sort of fitness or finance, I'm still feel like I'm hopefully I'm contributing to other people's lives.
Yes, well, you are in finance now, and tell me how the career in sports helps you to succeed in finance.
It's actually really quite simple because I spent my whole sporting career setting goals, putting a plan in place, and then seeing them come to fruition, achieving them. And that's exactly what I do with my clients. I sort of sit down and say, look, what do you want to achieve? Where are we now? What have we got? And what do you want to have long term? Well, we've got a whole scope of things we can do to try and get there. Let's try and work out a plan. And so it's very similar. All I'm doing is not working in that sort of sports world, just working with people and working with their finances to try and help them buy a first house or save for their kids' education or plan for their retirements. Now, these sort of things are all real life examples of what people go through every single day that maybe they don't have the experience or knowledge to know how to deal with. I've left the world of sport. I've done a huge amount of exams, and now I'm here to try and help those wheels set in motion. So that when people do decide that they want to retire at 60 rather than 65 or even earlier, that everything's in place for them and they can do that confidently.
So you saying that, well, despite the activity, it's all in here. It's all the mindset.
It's mindset, and it's about knowing that if you follow a plan, if you have a process, then ultimately, as long as it's a solid and well thought out plan, it will achieve results, hopefully near thereabouts that you want to achieve. Obviously, there is scope for things to happen. As in the sporting world, you get ill or injured, and that derails the plan a little bit. But give it time; it will come back onto track and keep rolling out the way it was doing before.
Great. So in this case, well, I must ask because it might be even athletes who think about retiring soon, watching this video, this interview with you. Tell me where people can find you online, how they can follow you, find out more about your career, what you're doing, and if they wanted to reach out for you to you to ask about some help in terms of finances, well, how they get in touch with you.
The best way to do it is drop me an email, z.purchase-hill@sjpp.co.uk. That'll come straight to me and I'll happily answer any questions. I'm also on LinkedIn, Zac Purchase, and I've got a link on there somewhere. I can't remember where it is. I'll try and put it near the top of my profile where you can book a half-hour chat. I'll chat about anything. I'm really happy to talk. And if you've got any financial questions, I'm happy to sort of offer a little bit of thought, a sounding board, and that sort of thing. And maybe we can work together to create a long-term plan. But I'm really happy to try and help as many people as possible. That's kind of what I'm here for now, really.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to include all the links that you just gave me in the description. And I can say straight away it works. Yes, I actually used that link to chat about anything. And I was like, oh, well, I have Olympic champion here who wants to chat about anything. Let's chat. And here we are today. Well, I think a week or 2 weeks after having an interview. Fantastic. Zac, thank you very much for sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and well, the important things about the mindset of champions, technically we should say. Tell me if I was going to ask you about one specific advice to a young person who decided to stay a professional athlete. What would you say?
Oh, I think the most important thing is make sure you enjoy what you do. Find a reason to enjoy it. There can be many reasons why things don't go to plan, but if there's something that bubbles away underneath, that means you're still enjoying what you do. That'll keep you going through any of the hard patches. Personally, I really don't like training. I don't like the exercise side of things. I never really got a really passionate love for that. But every single day, I reminded myself of my real passion, which was racing and winning. And that's what got me through pretty much every single day of training, was remembering at the light at the end of the tunnel was that race, was that World Championships, was that Olympic final, and was the opportunity to get a gold medal.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that advice. Well, if you're listening to it, remember, whatever you do, make sure you like it and you have this end result in mind. Thank you very much, Zach. Well, we
Sure.
definitely will be in touch again, and perhaps we have another chat about finances this time. But so far, thank you very much for being here, and see you again.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and speak to you soon.